Calling all builders. Welcome to Snowflake's 5-minute demo dare, where contestants race against the clock to demo the latest and greatest Snowflake products and features. Our judges will rate the demos based on 3 criteria. How ambitious is the demo? Is the demo useful and replicable? And finally, how engaging and interactive was the demo? Each category is worth 5 points, and demos can rack up to a total of 15 points for a perfect score. And now, your host, developer advocate Felipe Hoffa.
Pam, pam, pam. We are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good morning, night, wherever it is where you are. I'm Felipe Hoffa, developer advocate for Snowflake, live from California today. And you are in for a demo there, where our contestants have 5 minutes to deliver a demo against the clock live, and they are going to be judged by our judges and by you. Today's title is Building Data Pipelines with Coalesce. And do we have our contestant ready? People are already calling Josh. Josh, where are you?
I'm ready to go.
Excellent. So Josh, you work for Coalesce. What do you do at Coalesce?
Yeah, so I'm a product marketing data engineer at Coalesce. Get to focus primarily on the technical aspect of how we talk about the product and how we can go about providing content to help our users leverage Coalesce in a better way.
So a data engineer that knows how to do product marketing. And what does Coalesce do?
Coalesce is a data transformation solution built explicitly and exclusively for Snowflake that allows you to manage and scale your data pipelines.
Wow, you have so many fans on the live comments. That is great. So what is your demo about today in 10 seconds?
Yeah, so the demo today is going to be about operationalizing machine learning forecast nodes within Coalesce on top of Snowflake.
Operationalizing machine learning code. So, and how much are you trying to do in these 5 minutes? So our judges will know that you completed your demo.
Yeah, so we're going to go from nothing to building out a data pipeline, transforming some of that data in a manner that's going to make it useful to pass through to our forecast node. And then we're going to actually run that forecast node, which is leveraging Cortex functions behind the scenes to build a forecast that we can take a look at in 5 minutes.
Going from nothing to forecast in 5 minutes. Did you hear that, judges? Speaking of judges, who are our judges today? Let's welcome them in. Francisco Catan, Brad Harris, and Daniel Myers. How are you doing, guys?
Doing well. Excited to be here and learn all about this pretty awesome demo that I'm hearing about.
Yes, I'm excited too. How about you, Francisco?
Oh, I'm excited to see you as well, Josh. I'm really rooting for you. Looking forward to your demo.
And Brad, how are you doing?
Yep, doing fantastic. And yeah, I can't wait to see what Josh has in store for us today.
Yep. So before Josh starts, do you have any questions, or do you want to tell Josh what are you expecting to see in this demo? Francisco first. Sorry, yeah. Daniel first, but Daniel is ready.
I would say, really it comes down to a few big elements, right? One is, ambition. So like, how much are you going to be doing? It sounds like from your description, it's going to be, it's a tall order to go from, nothing to forecasting in under 5 minutes. That's going to be pretty impactful. The second, I think, is going to be, level of engagement. How are you on stage and in the hot seat? It's going to be interesting to see that. And then just general relevance, like how applicable is what you're going to be showing here today to everybody else that's watching today. So I think there's a lot to be reviewed here, and like I said, I'm excited to see it.
Yes, I like it, Daniel. Is it an engaging demo? Is it a useful demo? Are you trying to do a lot in the 5 minutes? Francisco, what are you expecting to see today?
I am looking forward to learn a lot more at Coalesce about what you guys do, what is the unique problem that your demo solves, and how relevant it is for our customers. And like Daniel, I'm also looking to see how much enthusiasm and energy you have in delivering the demo.
Cool. Let's learn what Coalesce is. And speaking of customers, Brad Harris, Senior Sales Engineer at Snowflake, what are you expecting to see?
Yeah, so I know that Josh is going to have the energy, but I'm just like everybody else. I can't wait to see it. But from what I hear with our customers, they love Snowflake's Cortex because it's powerful and still easy to use, and they also love Coalesce because it's powerful and easy to use. So I'm expecting a 2 times the power and ease of use coming out of this 5-minute demo today. So that's what I'm going to be looking for.
Ease of use. So Josh, you are going to tempt the demo gods. You will have 5 minutes to deliver this demo. Anything that we should know before we start the timer?
We're going to be going fast today, to the point of what we were just talking about. We're going to be building a data pipeline that doesn't exist right now, and going to be leveraging forecast functions that are going to give us an output before that 5 minutes is up. So we're going to be going fast. I think it's going to be clear and make sense, but buckle in, have fun.
Beautiful. Ready to start the timer?
I'm ready to go.
Let's start it right now.
All right, so in order to build our data pipeline, the first thing we're going to do is add in our data sources from Snowflake. And so I can click on Add Sources here in the upper left corner of my screen and go to the database and schema where the tables that I want to leverage for this pipeline are stored within Snowflake. And so for this demo, we're going to use 3 tables: menu, order detail, and order header. And by clicking on Add 3 sources, those sources will get added in as nodes within my build interface within Coalesce. And the first thing I want to do is actually, because these are just data sources, I want to add in a staging layer that's going to allow me to start transforming my data. And so I can click on all 3 and go to Add Nodes and select Stage, and immediately have a staging layer built. And from here, the first thing I really want to do is join together my order header and order detail nodes. And so to do that, I can right-click on either one, navigate to Join Nodes, and select Stage. This will pop me into that new node. And the first thing I'm going to do is actually rename this node to Stage Order Master. But we need to join the node together. So I'm going to navigate to this Join tab in the upper corner of the screen. And you'll see that we already have a bunch of code that's generated for us. And I just need to fill out the join condition. And in this case, that's going to be order ID. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to get the order line items for my order detail node associated with the order header information. And so you can see that we've just configured this join here in the Join tab. Back over in the mapping grid, I know that from both of these nodes, I'm going to have 2 duplicate columns, discount ID and order ID. And I can't create this object in Snowflake if I have duplicate columns. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete those 2 columns in bulk, just like that, and create this object in Snowflake by clicking on the Create button, which will run the DDL behind the scenes, creating the object in Snowflake. And by selecting Run, we'll insert the data into this specific object. And so while that's running, and you can see that denoted by that little circle there, I'm going to go ahead and join together my stage menu node with my stage order master node. And again, we'll navigate to Join Nodes and select Stage. We're going to navigate back to that Join tab. And again, we have that pre-configured generated code for us. In this case, my join condition is going to be menu item ID. So we'll fill that out here. And just like that, we have our join condition already met and all that code created for us. I'll navigate back to the mapping grid where all of our columns are, and I'm going to need 3 columns specific to this ML forecast node that we're going to run. The first column is going to be an order timestamp, and so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all the columns that I don't need surrounding the columns that I'm going to want to keep. And so order timestamp is the first column I want to keep. I'm also going to predict on the order amount or the sales specific to each item, and that's going to be denoted by my order amount column here. And then I'm also going to keep a series column because I want to predict on the specific menu items that my fictional food truck company that I'm predicting on here is creating. And so I'm going to use a column called menu item name and just get rid of these last 5 columns that aren't relevant to my transformations here. So now that I have the 3 columns I'm going to keep for my Cortex function, I want to perform some transformations. And the first is going to be transforming this order timestamp column at the day level. So I'm just going to cast this at the day level, which is going to look like this. Just perform that transformation like that. And then I'm also going to perform an aggregation that's going to allow me to sum my order amount at that level as well. And so we'll just say order amount, and we have that transformation written as well. And so now I need to use a group by since I'm using an aggregate function. So I can go back to my join tab and I can write any custom SQL here. And so first thing I'm going to do is actually add in a filter where my order timestamp is going to be greater than or equal to 2022-0601. And we'll go ahead and add in an item category filter. And we're just going to predict on beverages. And then finally, we'll add in that group by where our order timestamp will be added in because that's a column that we need to add in the group by. And then our menu item name, which is the other column. And so now that we have that configured, I can create this node in Snowflake, and we can go ahead and run that node to populate it with data. And I'm going to go back to my browser, and there's the node that we just created. I'm going to add my final node, which is our ML Forecast node. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see the configuration options here. I'm going to select for my series column, my menu item name, for my timestamp column, my order timestamp, and for my target column, the order amount, which is what we want to predict. I'm using all three columns, so I'm going to toggle off exogenous variables because I don't have additional features that I want to predict on. And from here, I'll go ahead and create this node, and we'll run it to populate it with data. And specifically, this forecast column is going to be the primary column that we care about to see the forecasted values that we've created. And so in doing that, Coalesce has now created an object over here in Snowflake. I will zoom in so you can see my screen. If I run this query, we'll be able to see the output. And if we use Snowsight, we can take a look and see that the historical data is denoted by our blue line, and our new forecast data denoted by that forecast function is denoted by this yellow line. That is it.
Beautiful. And you had so much time left. I love it. Let's go to our judges. Who wants to go first? I see Francisco has unmuted, so maybe Francisco.
Oh my gosh, am I unmuted? I guess I was unmuted the whole time. I was excited to see how much you accomplished in 5. I was really worried. I thought you weren't going to make it. Yeah, super excited to see what you did, incorporating, Cortex ML functions into your workflow and the data pipeline. So how does the integration work with Snowflake? Like, is the data coming out of Snowflake into Coalesce? And
yeah, so the integration effectively is just pulling through metadata from Snowflake. So Coalesce does not actually ingest any of the data. Effectively, what we're doing is acting as a metadata layer to allow you to build the DDL, the DML for Snowflake, and then pushing that back into Snowflake, allowing the compute layer in Snowflake to run all of that.
Very cool. So it's kind of like what we call a connected application on Snowflake.
Correct.
That's awesome. Great job.
Appreciate it.
How about Daniel? He unmuted first.
Yeah, I thought this was very relevant. I mean, I thought it was really cool to see really how fast you could do it. I mean, that was impressive. And also how easy it was. I mean, the fact that you were able to do it so fast, I think, speaks loudly to how easy and streamlined it can be to create that whole process. So it goes hand in hand. Overall, I'd say, very well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I was like Francisco. I was a little bit nervous about 45 seconds left into this, but way to go. What I see a lot is customers are looking for just ways to make things get value faster, and really what I saw here was just that. It's great to be able to see, you don't necessarily need to overthink, what it takes to do something as powerful as this forecasting. And to me, that's a great story, and you showed it in a great way. So yeah, I was impressed. I liked what I saw.
Appreciate it.
Yes. So judges, if you have more questions, this is the time to ask them. Otherwise, we're going to go to the live audience questions. If our audience has questions, I just see a lot of support for you. Rashki Shah on YouTube wasn't able to see a lot of text, so if we can revisit and zoom in some parts, that would be great to make clear to people what are the steps you follow. So, any questions, judges? Or
yes,
Francisco.
Josh, why? I noticed you're on Snowflake only, which is great for us, but I'm just wondering why.
Why on Snowflake?
Only, yes.
Yeah, sure. A couple different reasons. So the first is going to be kind of around being able to go from zero to leveraging your data really quickly. Snowflake is the best data cloud to be able to do that. So for us to be able to focus on leveraging that with Snowflake, there's so many useful applications and reasons why customers should use Snowflake. And for us to be able to focus on that, allows us to be able to tap into that kind of network, if you will. Another big reason is around innovation that Snowflake does, and just all the innovation that comes out. And for us to be able to focus specifically and exclusively on Snowflake to be able to implement all of that innovation. I mean, we just saw Cortex functions here, but be able to leverage all of that innovation that Snowflake does inside of Coalesce, just kind of amplifying. I think Brad's the one who said it before we started, but be able to kind of 2x, if you will. You can already work really, really fast in Snowflake, but be able to like amplify that even more within Coalesce is one of the reasons why we wanted to focus specifically on Snowflake. And then another reason too is because of kind of best practice Snowflake and optimization, or Snowflake SQL and optimization within leveraging Coalesce. And so by focusing specifically on Snowflake, we allow for all of our customers to leverage best practice Snowflake SQL and not have to worry about the optimization aspect of, is what I'm doing, do I have to worry about coming back and dealing with tech debt or leveraging and optimizing something else later? We allow you to focus on building the objects that you need now and not have to worry about the tech debt that might get accumulated there, which typically translates to allow you to having the ability to build additional and more objects than you ever would have been able to, because you would have been managing a previous data pipeline that had tech debt in it. And you also don't have to worry about necessarily the compute aspect that comes with non-optimized objects. Because our objects are optimized, your compute is going to get the most out of its money, if you will. And we allow you to reallocate that and allow you to refocus on building additional objects and tables and views and whatever else you want to build in Snowflake that continue to help you build out additional data products. And so that's kind of the spiel about why focusing on Snowflake.
That's awesome. Music to my ears.
Yes, we love that. For me, that was pretty impressive that you have the Cortex forecasting function is a native part of Coalesce. Like in any other tool, I would need to find a way to go through the 3 steps of producing a forecast. How hard is for Coalesce and how fast is it to develop the support to make it look so natural inside the product?
Yeah, so it's relatively straightforward. So if you're a customer and you want to leverage Cortex functions within Coalesce, it's just a matter of being able to implement that within your workspace, as we call it, which is really, really straightforward. You could either reach out to our account team and we'll help you implement that, or you could submit a question and ask us if you want something really specific around that. We could help you with that too. And then from there, it's just a matter of being able to leverage that machine learning functionality within the workspace. And if we saw, I don't know if my screen is still being shared or not, but
let's bring back your screen.
Okay.
There we have it.
Matter of leveraging, we have this add node option. It's just a matter of leveraging that machine learning functionality like you would with any other node that's been added into your project. And so you see we have a couple different nodes here. So we have like a dimension node available. We have a view if that's what we wanted to create, a fact node, so on and so forth. And it's just a matter of being able to natively use that exactly how you would any other node that's been added into your project.
Yeah. And I don't know if the judges want to go back to judge, or if you have more questions, this is the perfect time to ask them. On one hand, I wanted to ask if you could zoom a little more now, even if we cannot see the big picture, but just so our friends can see exactly how the nodes that we started this from 0 and you were able to start data transformations and add a node that has the forecast.
Yeah, and I think I saw that also in there you had anomaly detection. So I know we saw forecasting, but to your point, anomaly detection, other functions that are available within Cortex are available here as well, correct?
100%. Yep. Yeah, and you can also leverage, I kind of showed, we walked through building a transformation. I wrote a couple of transformations in this node here where I casted a specific column, and then we also used an aggregate function here. If there's specific functions like LLM functions that you wanted to be able to use within that transform column, we can support that as well. Any type of standard Snowflake SQL that you can write in Snowflake is going to translate all the way through to Coalesce. So if you want to write it here, you can do that here as well.
George, any plans to build a Snowflake native app that you can talk about or not?
At the moment, no, but I feel like that's always an option. So if you have thoughts and ideas, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, this would be a perfect, I think.
I love that.
Because the data stays in Snowflake already, you might,
Correct.
And you're focused on Snowflake customers, so this seems like a natural fit.
I love that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes. My question is, when you were delivering the demo, you knew exactly what to add, where to do the joins of what transformations you wanted.
Yep.
while you were figuring this process out, what would a normal user do to figure out what join to do?
Yeah, so I think a couple different things. So one of the first joins, or the very first join that I did, was this stage order master node. And if you go back to what we call the mapping grid here, I'll drop this down. We actually pull through, we're just using metadata to pull through all of the columns that come from both of the nodes, or however many nodes that you're joining together at once. And so one option would be to just go through each of the columns here and identify like columns. Another option would be, if you already know, if you're an analyst or an engineer and you already know the structure of the object that you're working with Snowflake, obviously you're going to be able to pass that through into the join as well. But really trying to make that as easy for the consumer, the user, as possible, for them to be able to identify, okay, what options do I have to work with? Where's the data coming from? We have this source column here, which actually denotes which of the specific nodes upstream it's coming from. So you can see here, this location ID column is coming from our order header node, but this menu item ID column is actually coming from our order detail node. So really providing you a lot of detail to be able to understand that. And then another option would be what we call column level lineage. And so we can actually view what we call column level lineage, which would allow you to see all of the columns in every single node within your entire project and how those are flowing through the entire project. So in this case, we can see that our order timestamp originates in our order header source node, passes through to our stage order header node, ends up in this stage order master node that we joined together, and also ends up all the way downstream in that Cortex function that we configured. And so that would be another way of kind of evaluating, okay, how can this all piece together? What columns do I have available? What options do I have available? And how does that actually impact my data pipeline as I continue to develop this? And if I change something in the future, how's that going to impact my pipeline? So that would be another way that I'd recommend looking at this.
Column level lineage across the whole pipeline, even while you were transforming that column. That's a pretty impressive feature.
It is an impressive feature. It's one of my favorites.
Yes. And speaking of pipelines, Nithya Sri has a question. Sorry if I didn't say your name correctly, but there's full name. Can we see whole data orchestration of this pipeline flow? Let's talk about the big picture of orchestrating this whole thing.
Yeah, so great question. So there's a couple different ways that you could orchestrate the pipeline flow. The first would be you could leverage a task in Snowflake where you would just pass through what we call the job ID. And once you deploy your work, so you'll see at the upper part of my screen here, we have a deploy option up here. And I could deploy my work to an environment and pass through, I could pass through my environment ID, which you'll see here. And I could trigger a specific job from that environment to be able to run specifically what I've built here. And so that would be an option with these nodes that I've created here, is I could pass these through, I could deploy this out and just pass that through as a parameter to a task within Snowflake and have that triggered from there. Another option would be I could use a tool like Airflow or Azure DevOps to be able to pass through that same type of parameter, just set that up and say, hey, here's my environment ID, here's a job ID if I choose to have something more granular than just the environment. And I want to be able to run that as well. And then obviously there's additional kind of third-party orchestration tools that you could use as well. And that will work here as well, as long as there's an integration with Coalesce. And so that's kind of the broader orchestration of how we would talk about deploying and orchestrating the entire project as we've completed here.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Nithi. It's great to see the big picture. And Mohammad Reza Abedi has the question, what specific models of machine learning does Coalesce support?
Yeah, so I love this question because it actually distills right back down to Snowflake. And so everything that is being leveraged within Coalesce is actually just under the hood being leveraged within Snowflake. So anything that Snowflake's going to support and any of the models that they're actually supporting underneath the hood of Snowflake is what's actually getting leveraged. We're not actually configuring anything from a optimization or model training standpoint outside of passing through the parameters into each of the node parameters that we have here. So if I go and share my screen again, you'll see we have our forecast model input here. All we've done is really pass through the parameters into the model here and then given it a couple other options here. Like I toggled off exogenous variables because I just didn't have additional columns that I was worried about training this specific model on. But at the end of the day, we're just leveraging the same functions that Snowflake is making available, is exposing to us. And so we're making that functionality available to you. I think it was you, Felipe, who was talking about how you don't necessarily have to code nearly as much. We just expedite your ability to be able to come in here and say, I want to be able to forecast this out. I don't necessarily know exactly how I'm going to use or write the code for this. And so I just want an easy to use interface, but have the access and ability to write the SQL and manage that pipeline how I want to, but just pass that through in a really quick way, allow me to generate the value out of that really quickly and be able to manage that in the future, whether that's through column level lineage or just the transformation options and the user interface that we make available to the user. But to answer the question more fully, we're just leveraging what Snowflake makes available. And so there's certain times where I would just point a user to Snowflake documentation and say, if you want to learn about it, this is exactly what we're leveraging. And so that's at the end of the day, exactly what's happening underneath the hood.
Yeah, and I really want to highlight how cool it is to have Coalesce surface in Coalesce UI, how these models work. Like this shows that the UI understands the what Snowflake offers and its different alternatives options, like adding exogenous variables.
Correct. That's correct. And actually, Felipe, too, I'll let this run. It typically takes about 20 seconds to run. But we actually expose all of the code that's being run behind the scenes within Snowflake so that a user can see every single step that's being run within Snowflake. So you know the entire process end to end of, okay, I'm using this specific model or this specific Cortex function or whatever it might be within Snowflake. What's actually, what is Coalesce actually running behind the scenes to make this happen within Snowflake? And so as soon as this is done running, I can actually open that up. Here we go.
There it is.
I can open this up. So you can actually see the first step that we're running is a truncation of the table. So we're just dropping all the data out of that table. And then we populate the forecast table with our historical data. And we can just see that that's happening right here. So we're just running an insert into statement with a select statement that's coming from our historical table. The next step is our creating of the forecast model instance. You can actually see that right here. So we're just running a create or replace table statement effectively. That's selecting that data and passing through the parameters that we configured in our model input. And then our kind of final run here is inserting that forecast data that we just configured a second ago. And you can actually see that we're calling that exact function behind the scenes and passing through that 30-day days to forecast configuration that we have over here on the right-hand side of the screen. And we're just then running an insert into statement with that forecast, using that forecast column that we have up here that allows you to then see, okay, here's our new forecasted values that are going to be inserted into that table. So we expose all of this to every single user who uses Coalesce, so you can see exactly what's being run behind the scenes.
Beautiful. So we have 1 minute left. I'll bring the judges back. And Josh, before the show ends, any last messages, next steps? What would you like people to know or do next?
Yes, I hopefully, as everyone saw today, you can go from 0 to hero really quickly within Coalesce without having to write a whole lot of code and really amplify your workflow while being able to manage and scale that data pipeline really, really easily. And then one more call out, if you're in the Bay Area, a week from today on May 2nd, I'll actually be giving a really similar topic presentation at the Bay Area Snowflake user group. So if you want to see more about what we talked about today, and it's going to be slowed down a little bit more, or if you want to ask specific questions during or afterward, I'd love to see you come out.
So I'll see you next week in the Bay Area and also at Summit probably. I think you have a talk. I'm also looking forward to that. Yes. With that, it's time for our head judge, Daniel, to deliver the final score.
Fantastic. So, Josh, great demo today. Hard-hitting, engaging, extremely relevant. Again, quick review. The judging criteria here today is how ambitious was the demo itself. I think going from as you said 0 to hero in such a short amount of time, very good. Relevance, showing forecasting based off of a data pipeline, that is very relevant to virtually any business. And engaging, your ability to hook the audience and really explain what's going on, great. So overall, the average score, again, this is the average score across all 3 judges. The average score is 11.4. That is a very good score. Great work.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
That's a really good score. Thank you, judges, for bringing your knowledge, representing the user, representing Snowflake customers, representing what we want to do. Thank you, Josh, for taking the risk of playing against the demo god. And if anyone else wants to join the show, We are looking forward for more demos. Send us your 5-minute video to know that you have a 5-minute demo, and you might be soon scheduled, and you might make it to the finals at the Snowflake Summit or whatever next stages we have. And with that, thanks a lot to everyone. I'm Felipe Hoffa, developer advocate. I'll see you very soon. Thank you.
Want to be featured on our show? Submit a video of you successfully completing a functioning demo within 5 minutes. Demos must be technical, original, and showcase existing Snowflake features.